Stay tuned for a delicious roasted meal. Hey guys, welcome back to At the Table. Sydney here, and we are going to be continuing on with our Living Well month, focusing on all things that we do here at the Cooperative Extension office as family and consumer sciences agents. And this is our very last episode for this month. So the last one that I want to finish on that is just such a big part of all that we do in Extension, whether it's family consumer science agents, FNEP, which is our expanded food and nutrition education professionals position, our SNAP Ed position, all three of us do include food safety into what we teach. So it is such a big part of what we do, and we want to make sure that people at home are shopping smart, being mindful of food safety when they're shopping at the grocery store, but also when they're preparing foods in their kitchen. So what we are doing today, and I thought this would be a great episode to, great focus area to highlight this, is we are going to be making roasted chicken. So we're using a whole chicken. This is about a little over 5 pounds. You could do a 5 to 6 pound chicken here, but it has already had the giblets removed and all of that, so it is ready to go. What we're going to start off, this is a 1-pan dish, so very simple. You get a lot of food out of it. You can feed a large family with this, have plenty of chicken left over, but we are going to be starting with our vegetables and have roasted vegetables underneath our chicken and then the roasted chicken on top. It's a 1-pan meal, so everything will go in together, but what we're going to start with is those vegetables. So I've got a couple of different veggies over here. You can choose what you like. I love roasted carrots. We've got some potatoes and an onion that we're all gonna roast together. So when we are ever using vegetables and produce and meat in our kitchen, one tip, and of course this is all going into the same pan, so it doesn't typically apply with this since it's all gonna be touching anyway, but most of the time when we're at home, you want to use a different cutting board for your vegetables as what you use for your meats. And another thing with that is to, if we're using a cutting board like this one here, and you might even be able to see some of my marks here of just where the knife starts to create little divots in your cutting board if it's more of this kind of plasticky type cutting board. If you're ever using, this is great for produce, if you're ever cutting meat, you want to make sure that you are cutting your meats on more of a glass cutting board, or just have an entirely separate cutting board for your meats. It can begin to harbor some of that bacteria in these little divots here. So if you have to use one of these to cut your meat, make sure that you are scrubbing, getting in those grooves, sanitizing properly, and then I always go the extra step, and after I've sanitized, I put it in the dishwasher as well. I probably do a little bit more overkill than is needed, but just key here, keep two separate cutting boards for your meats versus your vegetables. So what we're gonna do is just chop up these carrots into about 2-inch sized length. So I'm gonna chop it that way, and then I'm also going to cut it in half. Since these are going to be roasting for a good while, chicken takes an hour and a half to bake and roast. So it does take a good bit. I don't want to make these too small so that they get way overdone. I'm going to keep them a decent size here so that it will be cooked through but not be overdone. So I just have 4 carrots here. They're all various sizes. And I did make sure that I washed my produce before I am using it. That is another food safety tip for you. We actually don't need to use any type of vinegar rinse or anything like that to clean our vegetables. Just using your hand and when you're washing, kind of creating some friction will help to remove anything that may be on the surface of your vegetables. But we do want to make sure we are washing them, just because think of the hands who have touched the vegetables, and just the fact of when they are moving from the farm to the next step, which would be maybe a produce truck that's picking them up, to then being placed in the grocery store. So they're being moved around a lot, right? So you have to think about some of those things as well. That although all of those different practices have some food safety practices that they have to do in order to keep our food safe, we still want to take that step when we are washing when we are getting it to our home, of rinsing it very well. So I've just got red potatoes here. I'm actually going to cut these a little bit further. Again, I'm not going to make these real small because we don't want to overcook those. So I'm going to finish chopping up these red potatoes. We'll see you guys back in just 1 second to finish up our chicken vegetables.
Whether you're returning from a family vacation, coming back from college, or even returning from serving our country, we know there's no place like home. And here at Performance Ford, we want to make sure you get there. That's why every Performance certified vehicle comes with the Performance Lifetime Powertrain Warranty. Performance Ford, welcome home.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere, check local channel lineup, check your Star email, view and pay your Star bill, report troubles, use your Star security app, check your home voicemail, sign up for Crowd Fiber, check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
All right, so just finishing up these potatoes. I did go ahead and do my onion just because I didn't want to cry for you guys. So I quickly, just you can see these here, I sliced them in kind of smaller slices, but I left them long. So they're not chopped or diced. They're just in those long, thin slices. And we just have to finish up these potatoes. But you can, as I said, you can do any vegetables here. So you could just do potatoes and onions. You can add some fennel. One of the recipes that pulled this whole roasted chicken recipe from a couple different places. But the recipe that we have for you guys uses fennel. So you can add that to it. You could throw some celery in there. So really whatever you like mixed in with your vegetables is a good choice for you. Just keep in mind that it's going to be cooking for a good while. All right, so next up with our vegetables, we're going to be adding just a little bit of olive oil that I've got here. And I'm just going to drizzle that over the pan. Now we're going to get some really good juices from our chicken when our chicken is on top of this and cooking. So we'll have some nice juices from that. And this is a whole chicken, so you've got white meat and dark meat here to help give it that good fat in our dish. But still like to add a little bit of olive oil so that we can thoroughly coat it right now. And then those juices will help to flavor it even further as it cooks. So let me just move this around a little bit. So that it's all mixed together. And you can do this with a roasting pan, whatever you have. This is just what we had here at the office. We did have another pan that was a little bit bigger, but in order to kind of capture all of those juices and keep them closer together, we didn't want to use such a big pan that it's going to be the juices are going to be more shallow. You can see the pretty color here. We've got the red, the white, the orange from the carrots. Looks good. I love roasted onions. Love all this stuff roasted. It's gonna be so delicious. So the next thing that we're gonna add, and we're gonna use this with the chicken as well, but I wanted to also add some to our roasted vegetables. And this is just rosemary. And fresh rosemary smells so good to me. I love the flavor. It's one of my favorite herbs. You could also use thyme here or oregano, anything that you enjoy. I love chicken with rosemary, so that's kind of why I chose this one. But with any of these sturdy stemmed herbs you have, you can kind of see how it is attached on the stem here. I've seen some that say to go this way. You can see a little bit's falling off. Best way to do this is to go the opposite direction, hold it nice and firmly, and just pull, and all of your herbs come right off. And this is all last minute, I'm deciding to do this. I'm gonna chop this up a little bit further so that it will release some of that rosemary aroma into our vegetables as well. But it will also, we won't get just like one big chunk of rosemary in what we're eating. So you can, I've seen people who just pull it off that way as well. I just feel like this is so satisfying to just pull it right off, and it's so quick and easy to do. That is why these are the sturdy herbs are some of my favorite herbs to use, just because they're so easy to pick apart, I guess. So I'm just going to gather these and chop it up a little bit further. And with your herbs, anytime you're using those, you do want to either break it apart a little bit or chop it up a little bit, and that will, like I said, help to release the aroma of the herbs. There are oils that are in those different herbs, and when you break them in half, it releases that oil and just helps to really flavor your dish even further. So, looks so good. All right, so that's it for our vegetables. Those are done. So we're gonna move on to our chicken. Now remember I said we are gonna separate this pan from our other pan. I'm just gonna set that to the side and move our chicken here. So what we're gonna do next is just kind of look over your chicken, see if there are any feathers that are maybe loose. So you might find those here and there. Pick those off and then trim any excess fat. And we will do that with you guys when we get back in just a second.
Getting a new car or truck doesn't have to be difficult or expensive. Just let Performance Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram swap keys with you. Bring in your current vehicle, we'll swap keys and get you into a new car with Performance Peace of Mind lifetime powertrain warranty for the same or less than you're paying now. We've got a lot full of vehicles to choose from, and there's never been a better time to shop than the Start Something New sales event. It's about performance, and performance is taking care of you.
Many things have been stolen away during this time of uncertainty. No crowds to cheer on their favorite teams. Applause and pageantry have been stripped away. Thieves are looking to make your home empty and silent. Star Communications has the answer you are looking for. Security by Star. Automation and affordability along with friendly service makes for a security choice that is sure to keep your family cheering.
All right, so we've got our chicken here. I did go ahead and throw on my apron, especially when we're handling any type of meat, raw meat. We want to avoid getting it on our clothes, contaminating that, and otherwise you're gonna need to change. So I just went ahead and threw on my apron really quick. I've got there weren't a ton of feathers still stuck on, but it doesn't hurt to double check. And you see there's like some big fatty pieces. I am gonna cut those off. We've got a good amount of fat that's already in the skin. So you see all of the skin right here. That's gonna be your fat and help to flavor your dish just as well. That we don't need this excess fat here. Okay, it's pretty good. So next we are going to dry off the chicken. Now you notice that I did not wash my chicken, right? So really we want to avoid washing our meat just because we are spreading those germs all around the kitchen when we wash it. If you have to wash your chicken, I know some people, it's cultural, it's something that you've grown up doing and that your family has done, and some people really think they can taste a difference. So if you feel like you need to do that, definitely start off with the water very, very low, not super strong, so very, very light flow, and just rinse into the deep cavity of your sink and keep it at that lighter flow. That way it's not shooting the water, the salmonella all over, the water's not shooting that everywhere. So just keep that in mind. And then you need to thoroughly disinfect all around your sink. So not just in your sink, but along the wall and next to your sink as well. So we've got that dried off. The next thing we're gonna do, and I'm gonna be touching stuff here and I'm gonna have to disinfect everything I touch. So just keep that in mind as well. I am going to salt and pepper the outside as well as the inside of the cavity. I've seen a few different recipes that one just does the inside, one does the inside and outside. I'm gonna go inside and outside here. This is a good amount of salt that we're using, but in terms of the inside of the cavity, but you're not really eating the internal area, so just keep that in mind. So I'm just gonna get that salt and pepper all over. And then we also have a little bit of butter that has been melted. So just going to put that on the outside of my bird here. Now this is about 2 tablespoons of butter. I've also seen a few recipes that push the butter into underneath the skin to really help crisp up that skin. We want to try to use butter with this more so than using olive oil. I know we always promote olive oil in Extension. And of course, everything in moderation. Butter is still an okay choice as well, as long as we're not over consuming that. But butter helps in terms of roasting just because of the fats that are in the butter, those milk solids that help to really crisp it up even more. So I'm going to turn this guy over, get the other side really well. Like I said, we've got 2 tablespoons of butter here, so a decent amount. And then if you want to kind of lift up that skin, you can take a knife to do this and push the butter underneath there as well. This gets really messy, and you can see why it's so helpful to have an apron on for this, because you've just got juices kind of going all over the place when you're handling a raw chicken. All right, so the next thing, I'm gonna be stuffing our chicken with a few different things. So I'm gonna throw in, I'm gonna quarter a lemon. And throw this guy in. If you have a really big chicken, you could do, let's see if I can get him to hang out this way. If you have a really big chicken, you could possibly fit 2 lemons in there, but we're just gonna get the one. And then we also are going to, you don't even need to tear this up. We're just going to put the whole sprigs of rosemary inside. So stuff those in. You see I've got gloves on. That's really helpful. I do have a cut on one of my hands, so it's really helpful in terms of food safety, just keeping our cuts and stuff away from any time we're cooking, away from that food. So that looks good. And then our last thing is going to be our garlic. So I'm actually just going to cut this, and we want to be very careful here because this is a very sharp knife. Really, ideally, we're not going to be using our hand. And I should have got a separate cutting board for this. But it goes ahead and it cuts it in half, and we're not going to be eating the inside anyways. This is just for flavor. So we're just going to throw that as far as we can get in here. All that good garlic. This will just give it a good hint of garlic. Oh, if he wants to stay. There we go. All right, last step is to truss our chicken. So we are going to take our little chicken legs and tie those up. So I'm going to use a good bit of string here. Trying my best not to touch the ball of string. And what we have found works best is to kind of tie one side and then do the same around the other. And then we're going to pull this up here. Now there's a ton of different ways to do this. Some get really elaborate. This just seems to be the easiest route. And you can see it could still get a little difficult. So we're going to pull that as close as possible and just tie it so that it's easy to, came undone a little bit there, but that's pretty good. Tie it so that it's easy to undo so that you don't have string left over. Then the last thing is to take these wings, and we're actually just going to tuck those under and place this whole thing on top of our vegetables. So you see here, we've got our chicken all done. We've got our oven to 425. We're going to cook this for 1 hour and 20 minutes, and then it'll be ready to go. So we'll see you guys then.
Sweetie, will you turn that down, please?
Keep life exciting, even when it's not. Watch TV everywhere from Star Communications.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
All right, our bird is all done. It looks so good. You can just see how pretty it is. I'm going to try to pick it up here. It's already falling apart, so it means it is cooked to perfection. So what we're going to do now is chop it up. I did check it when it came out to make sure it was at 165, and it was. Oh, let's make sure we remove our string first. If you have a nice sharp knife, that should be very easy. And then we're just going to cut that leg, if you can get through the bone. And it is really juicy. So you just cut right through, You got to find that bone joint to help really get through that leg. So we've got the other one here. And then we are going to cut through the breast. So the best way is to, actually we need to remove. Let me just leave that. Best way is to go for the breast here. And you just slice it. Y'all, I'm so bad at this. I am not meant to carve a chicken. Okay, so you just want to try to get the breast off as best as you can, and you can cut further and, get more of that meat once you get through it. But once you get your breast, there we go, you can actually cut that into 3 different pieces. Cut it long ways. And you'll do that with both sides of the breast meat. You might have some excess that you can go back through and trim off. And of course, you want to utilize as much of that chicken as you can. You can also, once your chicken is done, you've got all the meat off, you can save that carcass and boil it and get some chicken stock that way. So then you have another way to utilize the chicken in a different way and get some really yummy chicken stock that will just taste really fresh that way. So once you've got it on your platter, I'll scoot this over. Next, you are going to just take your vegetables here and put those on your plate. And we're keeping some of that juice just because it gives it such good flavor. We love all this yummy chicken juice and the herbs in there. You can take the juice and actually even spread it on your chicken. And it looks beautiful. So it's done just like that. You've got your vegetables, you've got your meat, and you could platter this, put it on a nice fancy plate and put it in the center of your table, and your family will absolutely love it. So hopefully this was helpful to you and definitely helping you to learn how to do a chicken. Remember to keep your food safe when you're in the kitchen. Follow those safe practices with checking the temperature of your meats and keeping things all separate. And we will see you guys back next time.